Good morning, everybody, and a happy Saturday morning. We have a really long video here. Once again, the king made history. We have some more Andrew stuff, and if you can believe it, Meghan Markle just lost her 10th PR person. It boggles the mind. So there's a lot in here, obviously, so let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. I want to start with a big thank you to Nancy and Stephanie Sidley, who sent me these beautiful flowers after the death of Toodles. You know, they sent me flowers after Tigger died literally a year ago. Almost literally a year later, we lost Toodles. But what a beautiful gesture. And then, my cameras don't usually catch a lot, but I just thought this was so prophetic. So have you guys seen this? If you're on my other channel, this is my house from the gate as you're walking up to the house, and the cameras caught this the night Toodles died. All right, let's jump in. Remember I told you that David Beckham was in Country Life magazine because he edited it? Well, I forgot to tell you that Tom Parker Bowles, Queen Camilla's son, teamed up with him in this edition. How wonderful. All right, let's jump into the royals. Thursday, the 23rd, Pope Leo XIV participated in various events with King Charles and Queen Camilla, including an ecumenical prayer in the Sistine Chapel. This is a very historic moment. So let's go through the series of events. First, Charles and Camilla were driven with quite the motorcade into Vatican City. That's quite the motorcade that he has there. Wow, lots of motorcycles, lots of police. They arrived, I hope I'm saying this right, they arrived at the Apostolic Palace, in the motorcade. There they received a ceremonial welcome from the Swiss Guard. Now, somebody was playing music, and of course they played the anthem, the UK, God Save the King. I don't know if that was the Vatican people or the UK people, because in case you're unaware, the UK choir, one of the choirs actually went with them and was there as well. And then, of course, they went down the line shaking hands with everybody. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't point this out. Everybody was talking about the fact that Camilla was in black, not white. Well, that is a traditional Vatican custom. Non-Catholic queens wear black in the Pope's presence. And then, of course, later on, you'll see she changed into a white outfit because the Pope wasn't present. So when you see Catholic queens visiting the Pope at the Vatican, they're in white with white veils, but Camilla was in black, again, because she's non-Catholic. I would be a little intimidated if I saw all of this, but basically the king and the queen were escorted by the guard into the papal library for a private audience with the Pope. Now, during this meeting, which was historical, by the way, it centered on environmental protection, which we know is a cause very important to Charles. They also exchanged gifts of pictures of each other. King Charles presented the Pope with a signed photograph of himself and Queen Camilla, as well as an icon of St. Edward the Confessor, and Pope Leo's gift to the king was a scale version of the mosaic of Christ Pantocrator, I hope I'm saying that, from Sicily's cathedral. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, they talked about topics of mutual interest, again, environmental protection, the fight against poverty. There was an ecumenical dialogue, and they shared their commitment to peace and security. They also held talks, by the way, with Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican's Secretary of State. What's being reported is that this meeting, along with the other events of the day, which we're going to be getting ready to cover in just a minute, highlights the improved relations between the Anglican and Catholic churches and focuses on their shared vision for addressing global changes. Well, I just think that's fabulous. If these guys can get it together, I guess the point is the rest of the world should be able to get it together as well. You know what I'm saying. All right. Then after this, it was time for the next event. The king, the queen, and the Pope took part in an ecumenical, which is basically an interdenominational service, is the way to say it, in the Sistine Chapel. Now, this marks the very first time in nearly 500 years that a British monarch and a pope have prayed together in public. The service was led by Pope Leo and the Anglican Archbishop of York, Stephen Cottrell, focusing on the themes of Christian unity and environmental stewardship. I myself saw this chapel when I was in Rome 2 years ago. If you haven't been, it's really something to see it in person. Now, when this event was over, Charles left the chapel. He actually walked out with Pope Leo. They left the chapel together, and they went to the adjoining, I hope I'm saying this right, Sala Regia, to meet with business leaders and activists that were focusing on climate change and sustainability. And Queen Camilla at this point went off with another group of people and was shown around the Vatican and also visited the Pauline Chapel. Now, something else Camilla did after the Sistine Chapel, she met with various choirs that participated in the event. And for that, she stayed in the chapel before she went to look around with everybody else. All right. Then, of course, after going through the Vatican, it became time to leave. Thought it was pretty cool. The Pope himself chose to accompany Charles and Camilla into the courtyard of the palace to bid them farewell. And once again, there was music played. There was, I'm not sure what it was. And then, of course, they said goodbye. And I don't know if those are the people that came from the UK or if those are the people that belong to the Vatican. It wasn't just Charles and Camilla going. They took a lot of, like a choir with them and some other people. So I believe they played God Save the King again. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what happened. Then, of course, they shook hands, got in the car, and they went back to wherever they were staying to change clothes because they had some other events to tend to on this day. Very historic. Very historic. I just for once, I was glad that people covered what was going on here and they weren't talking about Andrew. This was all about the king, the queen, and what a historic event this was. Thank God. I don't know about you guys, but obviously we have a little bit more to cover, but I'm so sick of hearing about Andrew, really. This was just fabulous. So they went back, they changed clothes, and the first place they went was St. Paul, which is outside the walls of the Vatican, to again attend an ecumenical service. It was here that Charles had that specially created seat that I showed you before with the coat of arms of King Charles to commemorate His Majesty in the Royal Confrater of the Abbey and Basilica of St. Paul's. So he was given that title, and that chair is going to remain in the basilica for use by the king and his successors. How freaking cool is that? Then, of course, it was time for them to depart from there, and there were children outside that were waving. And so, of course, Charles and Camilla had to go over. Now, you should know also, while they were at the basilica, they prayed at the tomb of St. Paul, walked through the holy door, a ritual performed during the Jubilee year, and of course had the other service. Then they split off, and Camilla had a meeting with 6 Catholic sisters from the International Union of Superiors General. Now, this organization works to empower women globally through girls' education programs and access to health care. A lot of the work that they do is in hostile environments, and Queen Camilla recognized the work that they do. Queen Camilla thanked them for all that they do, knowing how important it is. Now, while she was doing this, King Charles attended a reception at the Pontifical Beta College, where he met with Vatican diplomatic corps, training priests, and Commonwealth ambassadors, and he planted a tree. It was an orange tree, to be exact. I just love that. All right, let's move on now. Andrew. You should know that a poll was done. Should he have his prince title stripped from him? You know how the UK loves their polls. Guess what the answer was? That's right. The answer was yes. People want him stripped. Now, keeping on with Andrew, more stories are coming out. They're saying that he spent nights with escorts in Thailand, and this was all paid for by taxpayers. They better have some proof of that, because that is a really serious allegation. And in the meantime, Royal Lodge, members of parliament are claiming now that they were misdirected by the royal household when they asked questions about Prince Andrew's finances and the occupation of Royal Lodge. Apparently, when Andrew moved in 2005, the Public Accounts Committee grilled officials over the move and how would the prince afford the rent and upkeep on this property. Former MP Ian Davidson has now accused authorities of stonewalling their investigation. You guys should know that Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has now agreed to the MP's demands for new scrutiny of Prince Andrew and his Royal Lodge living arrangements, raising the potential of the committee raking Andrew over the coals. He said it's important in relation to all properties, crown properties, that is, that there's a proper scrutiny, and I support that. Well, when they were initially asked about Andrew's personal arrangements, they stayed silent, saying, we found it difficult to get straight answers about the financial arrangements surrounding Prince Andrew's accommodations, and we would have pressed further, but in the face of stonewalling by the authorities, and by that I mean the royal household, we couldn't make any progress. Okay, that's the Queen. So basically, they're saying that the Queen did something untoward. I don't believe that. Now, we know that part of the lease agreement was that Andrew had to upkeep the property, maintain it. Well, let me tell you, some pictures have just come out showing that the Royal Lodge is actually crumbling, decaying, in need of painting, in need of repair. I've reported to you before, there's mold inside the house. It's probably not safe to live in, but this is what they want to fight over? I don't get it. And in the meantime, the public, and again, another poll shows just how much the public hates Andrew. They don't want Andrew there. They want Andrew out. The question is, when Andrew goes, when he leaves, where will Andrew go? Where will Andrew live? Well, that's another question. And now reports are coming out saying that King Charles might send Andrew to a castle in the Highlands. King Charles apparently wants Andrew to move to the Castle of May, which is a remote part of the Scottish Highlands. It was the former home of the Queen Mother, and Charles and Camilla regularly stay there. And the idea is out of sight, out of mind, get him out. And a Scottish lawyer who owns another castle nearby apparently offered to host Andrew there as well. Now, let's talk about Virginia Giuffre for a minute. This drip feeding of information is really getting annoying. Her ghostwriter, who basically wrote the book for her, says, I know everyone named in the Epstein files. Yes, I know who the names are. Okay, are you going to release them? No, she's not telling anybody, but I know them. Virginia knew the names. So does the FBI. So does the Department of Justice. Okay, but are you going to give the names? No. So why are you dangling this? Why do you feel the need to bring the attention to you? She said it took her 4 years to write this book. She still has all the tapes of her recorded conversations, including the ones where she detailed people that were involved with Epstein's. She goes, it's a very different scene. We had to make decisions about whether or not she was going to rename or name these people. I feel like she needs to put up or shut up. And in the meantime, with everything going on, a friend of Sarah's has said that she is literally on the verge of a nervous breakdown because her daughters are now being dragged into the scandal that's erupting about Epstein. Well, she should have thought about that first. Now, still speaking of Sarah, she has formally changed her name to Sarah Margaret Ferguson from Sarah, Duchess of York. Now, this change was made in several places, including company records and social media. She now uses the handle Sarah, we know, Sarah M. Fergie 15. She's also changed it on the documents for her company, Planned Partners Productions Limited. Everywhere she's made the change, as she should, because she is no longer the Duchess of Sussex. Now, you should know that the writer of that book, Andrew Lowney, is apparently trying to update the book and get some more information, and he's reporting on the news that Sarah is trying to stop that. Okay, can you really blame her after everything that's happened? Of course she's going to try to stop it. Let's be honest. All right, let's move on to Harry Meghan stuff. Okay. You guys remember in New York on the red carpet, Harry accidentally brushed Meghan's rear end with his hand? Well, apparently a lot of memes have come out, and so Meghan now is trying to control everything because she doesn't like it. And at the same time, the divorce rumors are coming out. Articles coming out. Meghan feels like a lost single mom. She feels adrift and overwhelmed because the lifestyle brand is struggling to take off, while Prince Harry feels increasingly homesick and talks privately about spending more time in Britain. So basically now they're spinning the narrative that there could be a divorce. Meghan could walk, blah, blah, blah. We all know what's going on here. He's miserable. He's been miserable for a long time. And while they've tried to put on a brave face, the public isn't stupid and they can clearly see that they're miserable. All right, let's move on to our big story for today. I'd like to be surprised by this, but I'm not. Meghan Markle has lost another publicist. Her latest publicist quit after 3 months. Emily Robinson, she's the former senior director of publicity at Netflix. They actually poached her from Netflix. Stepped down actually a few weeks ago. It just came out. So she became the 10th person, the 10th, 1-0, to become the Duchess of Sussex's publicist in June in 5 years, the 10th one in 5 years. So the decision to hire her was seen as controversial because, she worked on Netflix's The Crown, which left a lot of royal fans and commentators upset, because a lot of the stuff they put up wasn't real, but they refused a disclaimer. Now, this woman has built up a reputation as a tough cookie, and they've revealed it was her own personal decision to step down. They said it was her decision. She left a few weeks ago, but she's not a quitter. So things had to have been pretty horrible for her to go. And Miss Robinson's LinkedIn page has no reference that she ever worked with Meghan, but of course it's got all the other details. Now, of course, a spokesman for the Sussexes said, and I'm quoting, Miss Robinson oversaw project-based work for a very successful season of With Love Meghan and additional support for the production company. She did an excellent job and completed these projects with great success. Well, obviously something's going on. I wonder how the Sussex squad are going to spin this, because it's not normal to lose this many employees in such a short amount of time. And of course, they claim she's not a bully, she's not difficult, she's a great boss. Obviously, something's wrong. Let's move on to our last story. Oh my goodness. I'm looking forward to these comments. Put them down, make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.